so many stories that keep getting told over and over again, and we don't get a chance to see these really cool regional stories. They have been trying to get it done for years as a movie. It was originally supposed to be a movie. They showed me they had a poster and everything. And I've said this, man, sometimes a story has to find the right storyteller and the right format. You know what I mean? Some stories just happen, that's just the way it has to be. And this was one of those stories where it honestly works better as a TV show, but not as like specifically as this event as a limited series. Like the limited series format was perfectly created for this because it gave you an opportunity to do what I wanted to do, which is like I said earlier, which is explore all of these different characters and explore like kind of like the breadth of this world and let it breathe versus just like having 2 hours to probably just show the fight and the robbery, maybe a quick aftermath, and that's it. With the limited series, it gave us an opportunity to really explore an ensemble of characters.
I know you worked on The Child before this as well. I've heard some writers tell me they feel a little bit like we're at the end of the limited series a little bit because we made
Mhm.
so many and some people there's just so many that people were losing money because there were so many of them. What's your take on that, or maybe the future of limited series?
I don't know, man. I've heard that kind of tangentially, for lack of a better word, of just yeah, the limited series is like in terms of the amount of money you put in it, and generally they tend to be prestige. The reason you're able to get this top line, kind of like movie star talent, is because the limited series is it's like a movie. You get in and get out. It's 8 episodes or less.
Mm.
So I feel like it's still gonna be around because a top talent can be lured into it, top
Mm.
movie talent. But I do see a shrinking coming because I agree. I think there was a lot. They cost a lot of money. They aren't as profitable as recurring series. So I get it, but I feel like I don't see it going away because I feel like it's gonna like some of these like fledgling streamers, like having a limited series with a top line cast can really just it can be a flagship for your network. It sets the table. So I feel like the limited series will still be around. I do feel like it's gonna be more niche and it will be like more prestige and more, I think more star laden. I don't think it'll be as we'll see the market won't be as full of limited series as we've seen before, but I think it'll still be around. I just think it'll just be that. It'll be like because I feel like there's a certain movie that doesn't get made anymore,
Hmm.
and the
Yeah.
limited series allowed that movie to get made, like adult dramas with stars. You don't see that get made no more, but a limited series gives you an opportunity to do that. So that's why I feel like it'll still be around.
Did you feel, and this would be probably later drafts of your scripts, like what added responsibility or what changes were made after like Kevin Hart or Samuel Jackson or Don Cheadle steps onto something like this?
Not to toot my own horn, but honestly, not a lot from the standpoint of the character work. Like we already put so much work into really developing these characters and having them have like new playing them with nuance and having them playing them with and writing them with complexity and writing them with dimension. And so specifically when you look at so I say the one character that I would say changed or better yet expanded was Frank when Sam came in because originally Frank was written to be just more he's not but more of just here's the heavy that you got to impress to get where you need to get. But once you start bringing in Sam Jackson, like you, Sam Jackson, especially like in this show, because Sam Jackson is so, I've said it before, he was another historian. He knows you can't get slipped nothing past him about this stuff because he was there. And so it was an opportunity to really, okay, so now we have Sam, how can we expand this character and explore it in an interesting way? And it gave me an opportunity to really do something interesting and special that I really think people will get, which is to show a character that we've seen before and maybe in movies and history, but not like from this perspective. I think people will really like be impressed or intrigued by the Frank Moulton character and what Sam is bringing to the table. Because yeah, on one end, when you see him, like this dude is a gang, you're like, oh, this dude's a gangster. But you really get a sense there's a lot of humanity in him. Even though he's a gangster and he does some gangster shit, we really, I think, and I wish I had more real estate to get into the Frank character. But to answer your question, that was one place where we had to expand.
Hmm.
And with JD and like when you bring in a Don Cheadle to a character like a JD Hudson, who again a black policeman in 1970s in Atlanta, you really want to write that and film that in a way that that is nuanced just because of that character in the world. And I would say he's the most he's a very westerny character, and Don really came at it from an authentic standpoint.
You still need to reach out to the council of all the top black bosses across the nation.
Who's this?
Chicken Man.
Chicken Man.
Chicken wing? You don't speak chicken?
Get
This
down!
show it's an authentic show. It's a real show. I think the voice, the dialogue is very much of the time, and it was a little different than it is now. And I would say the one thing that they really was important to them, and something that was important to me, and you can see in my work, was just that the women are given agency and life and breath, and that was important to me. Just you seeing at God's Country, especially like I come from a place, specifically women of color, and in a genre show like this, it was very important for me to do exactly that. So that was their big thing, and that was the thing that they definitely made sure that we held to that standard. But no, they were great. Like they were very collaborative.
Was there anything you learned on the Chai that like, or any of your past work that like helps you prepare to be a showrunner? Were you asking questions, being on set, like preparing for eventually being a showrunner?
Nah, man, I'm an anomaly in a lot of ways, for good, for better, or for worse. In that of where we are in the industry. If it was up, I wish I would have had that experience of being on set as much as I could. That traditional, there used to be like a traditional way that you advance to being a showrunner, and that way just doesn't really exist anymore. What helped me prepare for this wasn't necessarily the TV shows I did on. What helped me prepare for this was low life. What helped me prepare for this was like the shorts and the web series and the grinded out work that me and my colleagues and cohorts from the amazing American Film Institute, when we got together, we started. That was what I learned. I learned how to be in the writer's room through those experiences. I learned about production in those experiences. I learned how to deal with issues, how to put out fires, how to adjust. I learned that just grinding it out with those people. So by the time I got to TV, even though I was mostly in rooms, I had that experience. So honestly, that's what I leaned on this. All the jobs I have are great from a writing perspective, but I didn't really get a chance to do that production show. I never really had an opportunity to do that, but I did it with the film work, with the indie work I was doing with my guys, with Low Life and all the other stuff we were doing. So honestly, that is what prepared me to do a project like this. And I approach every project the same, in that from a mental standpoint, it's very much, it's like an athlete. It's just lace them up and play. It's just don't treat practice any different than a championship game in terms of your approach. So that's what helped me to prepare for how crazy and wild this experience was going to be and what it was.
I think you said you grew up in Atlanta. You got the chance to tell this story. I'm in North Carolina, so I try to write stories about North Carolina. Any advice for people kind of writing local stories and putting hometowns on the map or some version of that? Anything like that comes to mind?
Keep doing it. I don't like, it's just the way I live. Like the greatest compliment, one of the greatest compliments I got was from Craig Brewer, who directed the first two and the last two episodes of Craig Brewer of Hustle and Flow fame. Southerner, proud Southerner, Tennessee guy. He said, we're regional filmmakers. We're Southerners, we're regional filmmakers. And that's the greatest compliment that I could get as a creative, because the people I think that I look to are that. They just do it on a national scale or do it on a huge scale. But for Scorsese's a regional filmmaker. Mike's a regional filmmaker. Craig's a regional filmmaker. All these people that I look. And so for me, and that's what's important to me, and I tell people this, I tell my Atlantans this when I was in Atlanta recently, I had to leave Atlanta to go find my career. And now the industry came to you. So I'm telling people, because I lived in Austin for a while, I was plugged into that community, that world. I'm a big fan of that. So I'm just like, North Carolina, my North Carolinians, my Southerners, North Carolina's a great, you look at Asheville, really got a lot of North Carolina School of Arts, there's a lot of great talent. And there's a lot of great stories that are there. And for me, I just say, just grind it out, keep telling those stories. And I say this all the time, kind of network across whoever's doing stuff in your city that's making stuff, like connect with them, man, and just start pooling your resources. Me and my guys did this out here in LA. It wasn't none of us from LA. Obviously, AFI is what brought us here, but we were doing it. I think we could have did that. I could have did that in Atlanta with another group. That was my journey.